Good morning. I'm Kelly DeMarco, and I am recording this video from Cascade, Wisconsin. Just wanted to give you a little sense of where I am in the world, and it's 9 degrees below zero, so you can feel it a little bit too. A question that has been on my heart for a long time and the heart and mind of activists everywhere is, what will it take for people to engage in climate action in the way that our planetary crisis demands? What will it take for people to get fired up about climate action? We're going to talk a little bit today about climate change and climate crisis and the difference between the two. And so before we continue, what I want you to do is just pause for a moment and feel in your own body how you respond to the words climate change. Where do those words land in you, and how do they make you feel? And now when we shift that word to climate crisis, what happens in you? Because it's really important. There's a big distinction between the word change and the word crisis. I've been beating the drum of climate action for quite some time, and I've been really stumped about this question of what's it going to take? I first learned about climate change when I was standing in a grocery store line at the age of 20. I read it in a headline of a newspaper, and it pierced my heart. And the words that I read in the newspaper article imprinted upon me and changed the course of my adult life. Activism was really the only way that I could deal with those emotions. Forevermore, I was changed. And I jumped into action and activism of all different kinds alongside of my day job as an occupational therapist. But I never really understood what it was that happened in me when I read that article. I just knew that I wanted to take action, and I was willing to kind of move heaven and earth to make my life align with it. The most recent form of action is having a farm, which is in my background, with my family of 4. We do some type of regenerative agriculture and permaculture combined. One of the barriers to action I know is that people are really busy. My life has been increasingly busy lately for reasons that I'd like to share with you, because something happened in my family that I think is part of the barrier to people taking meaningful action. So I'm going to go back to that story of when I was standing in the grocery store line and something happened in me. I didn't know what happened, but something happened recently that made me aware of what shifted in me in that moment, and why I was able to kind of jump headlong into activism in my adult life outside of my day job as an occupational therapist. And that is that in that moment, I really perceived that this was a crisis and I needed to meet it head on in whatever way I could. So it looked like marching on the street sometimes. It looked like writing letters. It looked like showing up at my, local government office. Sometimes it looked like just composting and recycling. It looked like biking through Argentina to spread an environmental message. And again, most recently, it looked like buying a farm with my family. What happened for me 7 months ago that has really shed a lot of light on what I think is a lot of the barrier to taking action is that my husband has been suffering from a really chronic pain condition. And this condition worsened over the past 5 years. And if you've ever lived with anyone with chronic pain or know of anyone with chronic pain, it's sort of this silent thing that just weaves its way in and out of your life in all kinds of unexpected ways. And for my husband, it was no fun at all. For our family, it impacted the quality of our relationships. It governs like when we sleep, when we wake up, how we walk on the floor. It governs the quality of engagement and activity. It really has taken a toll on a lot of different aspects of our daily lives. 7 months ago, my husband had a sinus infection that wouldn't go away. After 8 weeks of a couple different rounds of antibiotics, it still wasn't going away. And so one day he called me, and I was standing kind of inside of my role of occupational therapist, inside of my role as rehabilitation manager, kind of standing inside of a system that I knew really well. And it dawned on me that there were things that I could do. And he actually called me reaching out for my help. He said, "Can you help me? I feel like I'm dying." And there was something that shifted in that moment. It shifted from, this is a chronic pain condition that I, as partner and spouse, am helpless to fix or address. And I'm greatly inconvenienced by it. It shifted to, I'm a therapist and a manager, and I know this healthcare system, and you're asking me for help. And I understand those words. I understand those words. Can you help me? And so I leaned in and I just started to leverage the system. And within less than 24 hours, he was going in for a full lab workup. And within 3 days, my husband received a diagnosis of stage 3 multiple myeloma with kidney failure. And it occurred to me as he was receiving that diagnosis, and I was making trips kind of to and from the hospital, and, you know, like everything was reframing in me. And all of these challenges that we had been facing, the challenges in our family, the challenges in our relationship, the challenges, the areas where we felt stuck because of chronic pain, suddenly energy began to move. Suddenly doctors were coming at our beck and call. Suddenly people were coming to our assistance. Suddenly we could actually put words to the private hell we had been living in and reach out and talk to people and say, here's what's going on. I mean, we had doctors coming out of the woodwork asking us to tell our story. And as we began to tell it, it's like energy started moving and solutions started coming forth. And he started to get relief from his pain because pain medicine was now on board. This is what's needed for the climate crisis. Like, we need to stop calling it climate change and we need to call it a climate crisis. We need to acknowledge within our own bodies, our minds, our hearts, that the changes on our planet are not just changes. They're indicating that there's some real trouble afoot, and that for those of us who have luxury to watch a video like this, who have a privilege to kind of be looking at it from a little bit of a distance, wondering, is there something more I could do? Like, it is on us to act. So in the same way that my husband called out to me from inside of his pain, I'm calling out to you, and I'm calling out to ask you to lean in and shift your own internal dialogue. Stop calling it climate change and call it a climate crisis. This is a planetary crisis. I want you to take those words in and feel them in your body, in your mind, in your heart. And then I want you to look at, like, what is the roles that you're in? Who are you? What hats do you wear? What roles do you fill? What are the things, the systems that you can begin to leverage? In that moment, when my husband called out to me, I began to think of, like, what can I help my husband do to survive and thrive? And I am asking you, like, what can you do to help our planet survive and thrive? What can you do to leverage all of the hats that you wear and all of the roles that you fill, all of the expertise that you have, all of the life experiences that you've already lived through? How can you leverage those to take action in the face of this planetary crisis? I believe that this work of helping our planet shift so that we can all survive and thrive is some of the most rich and rewarding work we could possibly be doing. I also believe that it is our own ticket to personal thriving, because when our planet thrives, we thrive too. And when we do the work of planetary thriving, we get to thrive also. Our youth are out on the streets marching. They're out there demanding for our systems to change and pivot. There are activists everywhere who are putting their lives on the line. And I'm asking you to just make a little space in your life and begin to look at how can you prioritize climate action in the midst of all of your busyness. I can tell you that my life is probably more busy now than it's ever been, but because I prioritize climate action in the midst of all of the busyness, I have found ways to weave it in. I weave it in by having conversations that matter. I weave it in by making phone calls when I can. I weave it in by attending a weekly meeting in the evening. I weave it in by I have become a green team leader at work. And so I help make decisions that are helping our business become more earth friendly. Climate action, it's not hard, but it requires that we think differently and that we prioritize clean and green and life. And I think that we all have it in us to do this. I think we just have to, really stop every time we're about to make a decision and think, what can I do to help the planet that I live on survive and thrive? What can I do to help my fellow humans all across this globe survive and thrive in the face of this planetary crisis? So in my profession of occupational therapy, we are beginning to align ourselves with this most important work. Our occupational therapy practice framework now includes a thriving environment is essential for human beings to engage in meaningful occupations. We believe that it is a universal human right for people everywhere, regardless of differences, to be able to engage in meaningful occupations. And our World Federation of Occupational Therapy published a goal statement on climate change, stating that economic, environmental, and social agendas must be addressed for present generations to meet their needs, while also ensuring that future generations have the ability and the resources to meet their needs as well. This is my profession of occupational therapy. For the past 30 years, I never knew that I could align my personal passion for a thriving environment with my professional passion for thriving people. And now I can. So we are living in exciting times, and our professions, our industries, our businesses, human beings everywhere are figuring out how to do this work. We're in a time of incredible shift and change, and it's exciting. I don't know why my husband was diagnosed with cancer. I don't know why we didn't figure it out earlier. I've kicked myself so many times wondering, how did I not see this? Like, how did I not see that the pain that he was in was the crisis of cancer screaming out through his body and asking me for me to pay attention, asking for me to identify it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it for what it was. And I think that's how it is for us on this planet. Like, if it's not staring us in the face, if climate change is not knocking on our back door, if it's not ripping through our property, if it's not floodwaters rising to flood our homes or carry us away, we just don't get it. We just don't feel it as the crisis it is. Cancer sucks, but cancer is a teacher for me. Cancer is opening my eyes to the power of crisis moments, to move and shift things aside so that the important things that we value and prioritize can take up space. Crisis moments have huge potential to allow us to realign all kinds of things, and not in a bad way. Sometimes it's in a really good way. Things are thriving in my life, in my world, in my family in ways they hadn't been for a long time. Things are thriving in my relationship with my husband because we now know what this is that's sitting in the middle of our home, in the middle of our family, in the middle of our world that has been impacting us for a long time. We understand what it is. We can call it what it is. Climate change is trying to get our attention. Cancer will get our attention. The important part of you acknowledging climate change as a climate crisis is so that you can have energy freed up in your body to begin to take action in a new way, to begin to align your day-to-day routines in a new way. And then eventually those are going to become a new norm for you. And they're going to open up doors that you can't see right now. It's going to free up energy that you didn't have access to before. We can't get where we want to go if we keep doing the same things we've been doing every single day. We have to do new things. We have to create new habits and patterns and new routines. And Acknowledging something as a crisis just allows for energy to be freed up so that important shift can happen. And know that this world of action and activism is really fun. You're going to meet all kinds of amazing, innovative, creative people who are on the forefront of change, who are ready to grab you by the hand and take you with them, who are ready to help you do this most vital work, because their vision is powerful and motivating and inspiring, and it is moving them forward to new places. And we want you to do this work with us. We need you to do this work with us. We need every single human being across this planet to be engaged in this most vital work. And as I close out today, I just want to leave you with the inspiring words of youth activist Greta Thunberg. May her words light a fire in your heart and move you into action. Thank you.
The bigger our carbon footprint is, the bigger our moral duty. The bigger our platform, the bigger our responsibility. Our youth don't want our hope. They don't want us to be hopeful. They want us to panic. They want us to feel and shoulder the burden of their fear every day. And they want us to act. They want us to act as if we were in a crisis. They want us to act as if our house is on fire, because it is.